All right, welcome back to the Grand Solar Minimum. Today is Tuesday, December 15th, 2020. Let's get right into it. Space weather stats first. The solar wind speeds coming in at 285.3 kilometers per second. Still seems pretty weak, don't it? 4.1 is the density on that as well. But yeah, 285.3 kilometers per second. As considering it, how some are reporting that the sun is just so active and in its peak maximum strength or near it, that's a very low solar wind, folks. Very low, very quiet. And sunspots again showing up, AR2792, AR2793. That is the only two sunspot groupings that are facing Earth. Departing AR2790 actually was fizzling out, not even being a sunspot anymore. So that one really kind of just ran through its course by the time it got to our western limb. And now we have two right now in the southern part of our star. Sunspot number is 25. So relatively small, typical sunspot size when it comes to minimum conditions. And guys, let's be clear. Minimum conditions on the sun are still going to be in place. We are going to see sunspots, but it's not at its most active point yet. It will get there. We'll see a maximum, a weak one. But right now, this is just the beginning. And if you remember, when we started broadcasting on a consistent basis in 2017, you noticed that over time, the sun would fade out. Sunspots would become less and less. But it didn't happen where, boom, it was minimum. Dead quiet, no downtick. It was just maximum and then minimum. No, it took a lot of time. It took almost 3 years to get to the bottom of this minimum. So when we say that solar maximum is expected in 2025, that's right. For the next 4 years in 1 month, we will be talking about the uptick of solar activity on our star. Now, we talked about the last broadcast about how many people are saying that it's going to be under 100. And then we had some folks doing the Terminator research on the sunspots, and they're saying 153 to 305. That's a high window. Nonetheless, we'll monitor it together. We'll report it. And time will tell. The facts will show what's happening. But I can tell you right now, for those of you who are expecting an active sun in January, don't count on it. TCI is at 636. That is up also. And that probably has something to do with this C4 solar flare we had. Another weak one, by the way. Yesterday, December 14th, sunspot AR2792 unleashed a C4 class solar flare. The expulsion caused a minor shortwave radio blackout over South America and hurled a CME into space. But new modeling is now showing that this is not going to be heading towards us or anything like that. So ironic that we had radio blackouts over South America at the same time. At the same time, we had the shadow of the moon going across our star. Let me show you real quick. Let's go to SPACEWEATHER.com. Look at that. So we had a CME, C4, very weak, very minor. We had this moon shadow shining down. Oh, and that was obviously this during the solar eclipse. On top of that, we got a 6.3 earthquake in Chile. I mean, yeesh. Don't tell me the sun's not in control right now. My Lord, lots happening. Lots happening. But nonetheless, let's check out some more space weather stats before tonight's show is going to be quick. Show some earthquake and volcano, and then we got a little bit of weather to talk about. But more space weather stats. Again, solar X-ray flux is low after that weak C4. You can see it for yourself. KP indices are very low as well. No coronal hole to speak of that's Earth-facing. So we're not going to have to worry about, for the time being anyway, what explains the 6.3 earthquake. It might have something to do with that minor ping that we got from the CME that would be in the northern part of the magnetic field. So again, nothing crazy going on right now. And if you look at the sun, the reason why I was telling you people, if you think it's going to be active in January, think again. And you're probably saying, why do you say that, Jake? Well, here, let's zoom in a little bit. So here's our two sunspot regions right now. There's one on the east. I'm sorry, this could be the third one. Could be. Right now, our current two sunspots are very small. And when I say small, I do mean small. What the hell happened here? This thing did an update. I do apologize, folks. I'm trying to grab a piece of my equipment here, and I can't find it. All right, so thank you, OBS update, for not letting me find it. So let's all try to focus in on the negative 90 area. That could be a potential new sunspot. That would make it 3 if that's the case. But I'm not seeing it. AR 27, 92, and 93, we could be avoiding a sunspot here, and then you see something all the way back near the other side of the sun where we cannot monitor. Stereo B is not in communication with us. So my question is, how active are we going to be? I thought we were just going to have this continuous chain of active sunspots along the southern region, and that's not happening now. Which tells us our sun is not yet really kicking it into full gear yet. Are we seeing an uptick in activity? Absolutely. Absolutely. And we will. Like I said, this takes time. We're going to be in this for the next 3 years of watching this gradually step up in action. The last solar flare before this one was a 7.4, a C, Class C 7.4. And it looked impressive. And we haven't seen a sun flare that big in 3 years. And I'll be honest with you, it's almost been a while to remember what that looked like. So some folks got a little excited with that. Understandable. Sun's been asleep for 3 years. So again, there's a lot of fake news on social media about the standing of this current solar cycle and where it's heading. All I can tell you guys is over at our website, thegrandsolarminimum.com, we provide tools there for you to monitor the same information that we are relaying to you. And look for yourself. And you tell me. Because right now, I mean, yeah, we've had a few sunspots, but this is not an active sun. I can show you pictures of an active sun, and it looks lit up. It looks like there's two bands going across the center of the sun, long ways. That's an active sun. This is just intermittent, letting out a couple burps here and there, basically. So let's get checking out some earthquakes, because we've had a couple. All right, we had a 5.3 just recently. Kuroshiro, Japan. Probably should have got my 12-year-old out here for that one. He can speak pretty good Japanese, actually. 2.7 out here in Stanley, Idaho. We had Nevada, again, 2.6. Let's zoom in, because we've had some action out here on the West Coast as well. 3.5 in Morgan Hill, California. And then let's zoom back out, because we've had a couple of strong ones today as well. And USGS. I never saw that one. Where do we go here? So we had a 6.1 in the Philippines as well. 6.1. A 5.0 in Vanuatu. Pretty strong. So nothing too crazy. Another 4.9, very moderate. But again, 4.9 in Yamada, Japan. Things are kind of quiet today. Nothing too crazy. The 6.1 in the Philippines, obviously that one is the winner of the day. More activity in Nevada. Still watching that right now. But here is, let's get to that last. I didn't mean to even go to that one. The 4.4 earthquake under dormant Mauna Kea volcano in Hawaii. Now, this happened on Monday, December 14th. This was a mild, but still, concern here and worth mentioning as well. The epicenter was located about 12 miles southeast of Waimea and 32 miles west-northwest of Hilo at a depth of 16 miles. Strong shaking with maximum intensity of a 6 have been reported across the island of Hawaii. At that intensity, light damage to building or structures could be expected. So another dormant volcano that is trying to, how should we say, maybe, possibly make an emergence. We've been reporting on a lot of volcanoes that have been dormant in the past several months. This one here, not so much dormant. Intense strombolian activity continues at Etna's southeast crater. Lava emissions resume. Now, this was for December 13th, 2020. The most recent event happened at the crater in 2015 and May of 2016. And since then, activity at Etna's summit has never reached the intensity until December 13th, where it's at right now. So definitely a little bit more of an uptick with the volcanoes recently. Earthquakes, moderate, not that big of a deal. But we've definitely seen an uptick in volcanoes, and I want to go somewhere with that. Hang on. So if we have all these volcanoes that are coming back to life, and we're starting to see more of an eruption phase from some of these volcanoes, what's going to happen? More particulates will be in the atmosphere for one. Natural CO2, that's another thing. And that is part of the reason why we still see CO2 levels continue to rise. That's a big part of it. The warmer temperatures in the Arctic, melting that ice, definitely that part of the waters are absorbing warmer temperatures in the north because the ice is melting. Usually the ice will reflect the sunlight away and creating, less temperature. But since the ice is not coming back as quick, we have experienced some warmer ocean temperatures in the north. And we all know warming temperatures releases CO2 as well from the ocean, melting of ice. But if we have these volcanoes that continue to go pop all over the place, and this region right here especially is one to watch. You get a few of these going off at the same time, 55,000, and then you talk about Guatemala, 4.2 in Huayna, Honduras today, by the way. We're also seeing this swarm continue in Puerto Rico. I remember this thing's been ongoing now, it seems, over for a year of some intense earthquake action over here in Puerto Rico. In fact, this is the strongest, 2.8, 2.5, no big deal. But this has been going on for quite some time. But back to the volcanoes. If we have our volcanoes popping off, and let's say that things start to really get going. Now, reading Upheaval by John Casey has made me realize that we're not out of the woods right now by any means, just because we're heading towards a maximum. But we do see the more intense volcanic activity when the magnetosphere is at its weakest when cosmic radiation is at its highest. So technically, we are seeing things slowly get away from the minimum conditions. But I mean, what I'm trying to paint the big picture here is, though, is once these are active again and we start seeing more frequent eruptions, and I'm talking about after 2025. And the reason why I say that, and I'm not saying it's not possible to see a big one between now and the max, but reading what John Casey wrote in Upheaval, it really feels like that the bulk of his predictions are coming from the period of 2028 through the 2030s. And now he does list the risks of, a big earthquake and a volcano between 17 and 2037. But the more you read that book, the more you realize that he really believes at least the 2030s. Not ruling out challenging conditions in 2040s either, but I think a lot of people can agree that 2030s is going to be where we will see the peak of this grand solar minimum. Now, does this mean I'm trying to say that it's not starting? No, we're still in the beginning of a grand solar minimum. Everything has a beginning and everything has an end. Right now, we're at the very beginning of the cycle. So I'm not backing away from that. What I'm saying is especially when we're talking about the sun and cycles, I mean, everything's 10 years. Cooling is decadal. The solar cycles are between 11 and 13 years. It could be that long. So it's not going to be an overnight thing. And it's just like with the whole super grand solar minimum phenomenon. There for a while, YouTube went crazy. We're in a super grand solar minimum. Well, it's going to be so much colder because it's a super one. No. Dr. Zarkova discovered the super grand solar minimum as a cycle of 2,000 years, and each 350 year to 415 years is considered a grand cycle. And there's 5 of these things in a super grand solar minimum. Now, the last super grand solar minimum, which the current cycle we are in, started during the Maunder minimum. Okay? So the Maunder minimum was the first, the Dalton minimum was the second grand cycle, and now the Eddy minimum, which a lot of us are calling it that, is grand cycle number 3. Now, you know how graphs work. It goes up and down. Starts from the top, goes to the bottom, goes back to the top. That's how we see our maximum, minimum, maximum cycles. So, if a super grand solar minimum is a 2,000-year cycle with 5 grand solar minimum, or grand cycles, I should say, the 350 to 415-year cycles, the Dalton, the Maunder, and now this one, that we are number 3. That's right. The next 350 years will be heading into the 4th leg of this super grand solar minimum. All right. And then we get to the end of this 2,000-year cycle. Bear with me here, which will be in 2 more. So none of us will be here. In about 800 years, we will be starting up the next super grand solar minimum. And my point I'm trying to make is that we don't have all the answers, but if we try to just slow it down a little bit and make sense of it, it gives people a better understanding on what we're dealing with, what we're going through, instead of just slapping a label that makes it sound worse and more intense. In actuality, what's bizarre about this particular grand minimum is that during these 2,000-year cycles, the first 1,000 years of the cycle is working its way back to a strengthening magnetic field. The second half of the 2,000-year cycle is where the magnetic field begins its descent towards a bottom out. The only thing that I might be a little bit confused about is how we are expected to see 35 to 75% less magnetic field strength in the next coming cycle. Solar cycle 26 is when it's really supposed to get weaker towards the latter part of 25. So we'll just have to wait and see. But from what I've learned and what I've read and what I follow, everything is happening right on schedule. It's not an odd start to the cycle. It was a slow one, but that's only because we are predicting this cycle to be as weak as 24 at the same level. Now, I could make sense of that. So what does that mean when we get into 2028 and beyond? And we're in low solar activity, it's supposed to be record low solar activity for the next 10, 20 years. Is it a blip? Maybe. But it is not going to be a situation where it is worse than the Maunder minimum if you follow Zarkova's super grand solar minimum cycle. We are at the halfway part, which means we will once again start to see that descent of the magnetic field. But technically, it's this magnetic field now is stronger than what it was back in the Maunder minimum. Either way, it's going to take some time. And we really appreciate the loyalty and all of you that have stuck around. There's a lot of people that are in this chat tonight that's been with this channel for a long time. And I believe it's because they are fanatics of the science that goes into solar cycles, that creates the disruptions that it creates when it comes to climate, when it comes to seismic and volcanic activity. And every day, I learn something from this. Every day. And if you're following this right now, and if you think you have all the answers and you can't learn anything, I'm going to have to beg to differ. I think everybody is learning right now. This is an unknown territory for our civilization. No one's ever been alive for this. But I can tell you this, if you're reading books like the one that John Casey wrote, Upheaval, and his others, you're going to be a little bit more familiar with what's happening. And also, one other thing I want to throw out there. We have more people to feed. I misspoke about when we were talking about our food supply. And I said, well, our food supply chain is way more improved now than it was back in the Maunder minimum. And that may be true, but did we have the population of the world during the Maunder minimum like we have it now? Okay. Yes, we have better technology, we have better know-how, but we also have more people to feed. And since we know that the sun controls the climate, the sun's going to do what it's going to do, whether you have enough people on this earth to work a supply line or not. So even though we are advanced as a civilization than we were in the Maunder and the Dalton, the fact remains is that we have more people to take care of now. More food to store. Growing is still just as important now as it was back then, obviously. And with everything that's happening in this world right now, it's very unpredictable. Supply chains are inconsistent. We're starting to see signs possibly of food disruptions within the next few years. Some will say now. There was a rumor about truckers that were going to strike for 4 days. Guys, if truck drivers across the country did strike for 4 days, that would have been catastrophic almost. A lot of stores, look at what happened when the COVID shut down the United States in the beginning. Everybody bought 1 million packs of toilet paper and 18 bricks of ramen noodles. But no, seriously, there was a lot of panic buying. So if we actually had a trucker strike, think about the panic buying that would happen days before. So now we're talking more days without food or supply on shelves because people were panic buying. Things like that will cause food disruptions. Yes, those are man-made. Those aren't as natural as the ones I'm talking about. Okay. So I'm not going to speculate on Rumorville when you hear everything you hear on social media like Twitter or Facebook, because I've heard a lot. I've heard a lot of people promoting some pretty radical ideas out there, and they just haven't come to fruition. And even some out there that are talking about the same topic we are. Some things have been off about that. But that's okay. We'll learn together. I am not an expert. I report on this. I've learned a lot. Mari is my better half. She helps with a lot of the research. Sometimes there's things that my brain can't break down, and thank God for her, she breaks it down for me. So we're constantly learning something every day. And that's what we want to try to provide for you folks out there in YouTube land. And there's a lot of junk food for the brain. Now, indulge in the truth. All right, let's get out there and talk about this storm that's coming in. It's going to be starting around Tuesday, and lots of areas expecting different kinds of precipitation, how much, where, and what. I'm just going to read most of this to you guys. Major nor'easter is expected to take shape midweek, that's tomorrow through Thursday, and unload the biggest snowstorm in years across a good portion of the Northeast. Snowfall totals are expected to be measured in the feet in some areas across the interior as winds ramp up, create near blizzard conditions to the region late Wednesday and Thursday. Well, one factor will keep the storm from becoming a full-on snowmageddon, and that will be its forward speed. It'll be a fast-moving storm. Will keep the snow totals down. But even that, still, snow is expected to fall at a rate of 1 to 3 inches an hour. So think about this. This is the fast-moving storm. They're talking about Philadelphia and other areas around there could be in between 4 to 8 inches of snow. If this thing had slowed down just a little bit, now Philly might be talking about 1.5 feet of snow. So where are we going to see the most snow? Well, that dark blue right there in the middle here. 18 to 24 inches. I'm not saying it's not as possible for parts of Massachusetts, that's Connecticut, Long Island as well. A lot of us here in the Northeast are missing it, but the southern part, a good chunk of us, we're going to see some very significant snowfall here in the region. The majority of us from Pittsburgh to Philadelphia are going to see anywhere from 6 to 12 inches of snow. That's a pretty wide swath there of heavy snow. Parts of West Virginia, D.C., you're on the outer skirts of this. You're looking at about 1 to 3 inches. Lucky you, right? I know where I live, maybe an inch, maybe. Sad. I like snow. Plus, you guys don't want to miss tomorrow. Tomorrow is Mari's birthday. That's right. We are not going to tell the age. If you guess it correctly, you will win a GSM prize. And that prize is probably not going to be announced. So, because I'm joking, there's no prize. But anyway, tune in tomorrow night. Maybe we'll have a little birthday song for Miss Mari on her birthday. Anyway, too close to call for New York City, where snow is forecast to pile up a depth of 6 to 12 inches. It's possible. It's possible.
Really?
If the storm doesn't get us. Widespread power outages, yep, all across the I-95, right along the coast. This is a good old-fashioned nor'easter here for you folks in the Northeast. Southern New York hasn't seen a storm like this in a little while, though. A broad swath of 12 to 18 inches of snow is projected to fall from northwestern Virginia and northeastern West Virginia to part of northern Maryland and central eastern Pennsylvania, northern New Jersey, southern New York State, and southern New England. Within this area, some places can pick up 24 inches of snow and a local storm max of up to 30 inches. Obviously, this is going to shut things down. This is going to cause problems. If you don't have to go to work, well, it's Wednesday, so you probably will. But if you don't have to go anywhere afterwards, stay home. Aside from COVID, stay home tomorrow night. This storm is going to get wicked up and down the coast from Philadelphia to Boston. Some severe storm-like conditions, localized power outages, reduced visibility, coastal flooding even involved because this storm is packing a punch. Storm max winds of around 60 miles per hour. Let's check out our GFS Outlook and see what it looks like on the big board here. This is Wednesday. The storm really doesn't get really going until about midday Wednesday into Thursday. You can see why we're talking about heavy snowfalls for most of Pennsylvania. That is Thursday morning in the early hours. Here's by mid-morning, and you can see how quickly it's moving out to sea. Southern New York, picking up a swath of snow there. And now the models are suggesting that a little bit further north of Albany could see a little bit more snowfall. But look how fast it's out of here by. So some brief areas of snow, but most of northeastern parts of the United States will see the snow at least 1 to 3 inches in a wider swath now. As this storm pulls away by Friday, some lingering lake effects, more cold air for the northeast, the northern plain states, central plain states as well. And then here comes another system by December 20th. And right now, GFS just doesn't know. It's got rain and snow mixed together, but we have temperatures that will match. This would be an all snow event. So I'm not really sure what's going on with this run. We'll check it tomorrow, though. And then right before Christmas, another low pressure system, more cold air. And if I had my handy dandy arrow work, and I'd show you, but this is a classic La Nina jet stream pattern, right where my cursor is going across. And that is December 22nd. Lots of colder air, snow moving down into northeastern, northern parts of the United States. Only Great Lakes, Michigan as well. Western New York could see a lake event snowfall on December 22nd, and that could lead to several inches of snow, but very blustery, wintry-like conditions up until December 24th, Christmas Eve, when another low-pressure system, according to the GFS, a jet stream dipped all the way back to the northwest into the southwest, and then moving eastward as this next low-pressure system has the potential to bring white Christmas. Yes, I said it. White Christmas for you folks in southern Illinois, Indiana, and Ohio. Parts of the Northeast possible as well, because when this system moves through, it will be cold enough and change all over to snow. We got to watch the ice situation in southern Kentucky and northwestern Tennessee up into North Carolina as well. But look at that. Some pretty heavy snow all the way through Christmas Day for the Northeast. So if you were looking for a white Christmas and you live in the Midwest, Ohio, Illinois, parts of southern Illinois, most of Indiana, Pennsylvania, New York, New Hampshire, Vermont, Connecticut, Massachusetts, Maine, Rhode Island, Delaware, you will see at least 1 to 3 inches on the ground. And folks, that constitutes me a white Christmas. You got snow, right? So good news. Hopefully this model holds up. GFS has been pretty good about showing us things that are out further. This is only 10 days out, so I usually say don't go past 7 days. You can't really trust the forecast after that. But I'm kind of thinking, I don't know. This one might hold up. So this is on the 10 days. So we'll see. It's looking good, though. If you like snow for Christmas and you live in the Ohio Valley and into the Northeast, you have a pretty good chance of seeing that. And then, wow, December 26th, another coastal storm firing up. Again, areas along the East Coast that don't normally see this kind of snow, North Carolina, South Carolina, Virginia, that'll be mainly you guys. The Northeast looks like we'll be out of the clear, and we'll still have plenty on the ground. And then there's that very peculiar dip in the jet stream. Check this out. Again, the only thing that I can tell you, when I see the jet stream do this, and this is usually we're talking about like a drop and then up. This is a straight drop down and then up to an angle. That usually says we have high pressure in Greenland. So let's see if I'm right. Bingo! There it is. High pressure up here in Greenland usually helps us with this, what we call Greenland block. And it's the GFS has shown this around the 27th and the 28th for the past couple of days. Thank you, Michael, for the donation. We are subscriber supported, so we really appreciate the super chat there. Thank you very much. So let's watch what happens now for the rest of the month. This is just, again, this is not in stone, but this is just an idea of what we're looking at. Oh, they changed it. Eastern. Why would they do that? Let's get the whole thing here. All right. So let's move forward past the 27th. More cold. Another coastal storm. That's right. That would be system number 4 for December. The East Coast has seen its share, my friends. And then we start to see more snow in the Pac West and also Colorado, New Mexico, and the mountains across Kansas as well. More snow firing up. And then by the end of the month, another system is trying to make its way through the Northeast. So Christmas, you get snow in the Northeast, and then after that, it's been kind of quiet. Looks like you get another minor system that comes through and drops about 1 to 3 once again. And New Year's Eve is looking like trouble if you live in Wisconsin, parts of northern Illinois, Indiana, and northwestern Ohio. If this thing stays where it's at, and it's possible it could even move into the Northeast. Well, that would be 2021's version of a bang for sure. So December has showed us some up and down type stuff here. And I've already said that I think we're going to see our colder temperatures in January, more snow in the lower 48. And I'm going to stick with that. Because GFS is trying to show us at the end of this month that Arctic air and maybe a possibility of a polar vortex situation, as we got lots of Arctic air pushing its way in here by Christmas. Look at that. I mean, United States is flirting with some Arctic air already. And then as we get past towards the end of the month, more frigid Arctic air coming in from the north, and that's quite a bit. So let's take a look at another angle for these temperatures here. Where's the northern part here? Let's get North America. There we go. So let's take a look. Yeah, look at that. Jeez. So all that Arctic air that's been building up in Greenland in the northern circle there is starting to filter into Canada, central Canada, and will continue to move its way down toward the lower 48. Won't be long, folks, is what I'm trying to say. We'll watch this build up if GFS will let us do it here. It retracts a little bit before Christmas, and then once we get towards the end of the month, closer to January, that high pressure pushing this colder Arctic air further and further south. And wow, it advances quite a bit. Now you're looking at this like, wow, look at December 31st. I mean, 60s across the south. Tennessee, looking at 70s maybe. Southern Ohio, 40s and 50s at the end of New Year's Eve. But that storm, depending on what the ridge and fridge looks like on that, it could bring enough warm air with it into the Northeast. Just looking at this map from a distance, it could be one of those storms that it's going to be on the line. We don't know if it's going to be a rain or a snow event by the time it does make it to the east, the Northeast. Right now, with temperatures as warm as that, it's possible it could ride that ridge, keep things on the warmer side, and we wouldn't be dealing with much snow at all. But still, if you like snow and you live in the Ohio Great Lakes area into the Northeast, you're definitely going to see that white stuff right in time for Christmas to where it will stick, and it's going to give you some good scenery. Let's go to precipitation, moisture, total snowfall. Take a look at that. That's not the one I want. That's the wrong. Yeah, that's what I wanted. Okay, so let's zoom in. So a lot of this snow in the Northeast is going to be fresh from the Christmas snow. A lot of this back here in the middle of the country, That's going to be from snows from starting from now and moving forward. And if you can tell across the United States, we're in a lot of blues, but that's 1 inch, 2 inch, 3 inch. And I did say 1 to 3 inches is a white Christmas for me, as long as everything's covered. But that just depends if temperatures stay where they are. Now, lots of snow in Canada, all over Canada. Their snowfall totals have not been affected. The Northwest is definitely seeing a lot more snowfall, all the way down into New Mexico, Arizona. Lots of snow for you folks out there. Washington, Oregon, Idaho, Montana, Wyoming, parts of Utah, upper elevations of Colorado. Same thing for Arizona and New Mexico, all upper elevation snows. But pretty good. The Northwest and the Northeast should see white Christmases this year, according to this snow map. But the fresher of the snow is going to definitely be on the East Coast and the Northeast at the end of this year. So without further ado, Mari, did you want to say hello or anything like that? Say what's up to Matt and Knife Collector.
How dare you even have them guess my age, Jake?
I told him there would be a fake prize.
How dare you? But you know what? These people in the chat are so lovely. They really are lovely. They think I'm in my 20s. I love them.
I thought you were. That's what you told me. You're a liar. You're a damn liar. I knew it.
I thought you knew.
No.
Oh. Okay.
Anything special, though, before we take off?
You know, Edward's going to Guam to scope out land.
Before you go any further,
Interesting.
Edward, talking to Knife Collector about watching Twin Peaks. It's so corny. Love the scenery. Listen, I'm trying to finish it. Mari and I are probably about 9, 10, 11 episodes into it. And we're trying to finish it. And I love the first... I love the first 5, 6, 7 episodes, and after that, I kind of get lost once they solve the murder mystery, and then it moves on from that, and it's like, okay, whatever. Kind of weird, but it's kind of weird you guys are talking about Twin Peaks. Sorry, go ahead, Mari.
What else was I going to say? And I wanted to thank Michael for the special super chat sticker.
Yes.
Thank you. And somebody else said they liked our shirts. We have those on the screen right now, and I was telling people my favorite shirt is Cosmic Rays. But I have never had anyone agree with me on that.
Listen,
I don't understand why. It's like they're like sea rays in outer space.
I hate cosmic rays.
Making them cosmic rays.
I don't know about you, but I hate
gets
cosmic
it,
rays.
Me, and I think it's hysterical. Anyway, I don't have a whole lot. I'm excited that I'm going to have cake tomorrow.
Me too.
Okay.
I'm
That's what I'm
ready for some cake.
about.
So I'm very excited.
Let there be cake, everybody.
Let there be
Go
cake.
out there, get yourself a cake, and have a bite on me. Thanks.
All right, guys. We will see you tomorrow night, and hopefully we'll just, we'll send Mari a Christmas song. We'll send Mari.
Sing me a song.
We will sing Mari a song. Happy birthday, because it's her birthday. So, all right, guys, that's going to do it for us tonight. Thank you for tuning in to the latest Grand Solar Minimum News Update. We will be back live tomorrow, as we said. We hope everyone has a lovely evening. Be safe out there, and let's keep our eyes on this storm that we have coming here, this next winter weather storm here in the Northeast. It's going to be a quick mover, so starting late tonight, moving into tomorrow, it'll be gone by Thursday. So, till next time, guys, have a good evening, and we will talk soon.
Do you like this show? Give us a thumbs up. Want to support us more? Share to your favorite social media platform. Buy a t-shirt or become a Patreon. All links are in the description below.